color connoisseur PowerPoint, and maybe go to the first or second slide, and that'll have the diagrams of this section. Perfect. Yeah, maybe go down. There we go, perfect. Yeah, one more. Yeah, you're there. There you go. So what we've done here is we've created the top section, which looks like a cat eye, and then we've just worked off the top to create both side panels. And by creating the sides, we naturally create the back panel. Okay. Working with 4 sections to sort of break up the head shape so that we can gain a little bit more control with the organic highlighting method. Right. Now, with her length of hair and layers, a lot of time could really be taken up in closed packing. I'll be honest with you, because there's a lot of length here and a lot of, she has a lot of fine hair. Just fine hair, but a lot of it. Not to say that a foil packeting or weaving wouldn't work on this head of hair, it'd be beautiful, but much more time consuming and much more of yesterday as opposed to maybe tomorrow's looks. We always have to, when we're in the salon, be thinking of what's tomorrow, what's the future. Number one reason why a guest would move on from you to another hairdresser?
Time.
There you go. There you go. You know, don't feel that movement and change, kind of bored with you, kind of bored with your techniques and things like that. So we always got to be thinking about what's next. So on this head of hair, I'm going to approach this with a little bit more of a diagonal placement, and you can see on the diagrams that horizontal might be straight across, painting either dark, medium to light horizontally or vertically, right? And then diagonal is working off in diagonal shaped sections and applying it on a slight diagonal to the fall of the hair. Or vertical, we still go in with the vertical placement and still part off the head on a horizontal, but when we paint organically, we paint it vertically, all right, in lines or in separated sections. So on this head of hair, what I want to do is maybe look at the back because she's got quite a bit. I'm not going to take the time to put any sort of lightness on this bottom perimeter, but maybe on this top section right here, if I take it out, it actually forms a natural triangle right there on this top section, so that's perfect for me. In working organically, I like to work in triangles right now. They seem to allow me to accomplish the technique that I use and also give me the right angles to blend in these larger sections. So triangles are my friend right now. You talked to me maybe about 5 years ago. I was doing a lot of things circularly. I was working in circles. You talked to me before that, I was doing a lot of blocks and squares, horizontals and verticals. So again, just kind of recognizing that trends change and you've got to kind of change your direction. But in the end, respecting, I've switched gloves, respecting the laws of hair cutting and coloring, which is horizontal, vertical, and diagonal, the universal directions of design, whether you're talking hair or architecture, clothing design, horizontal, vertical, and diagonal are the things that we can't get away from when we're talking about design and shapes and sections. So let me grab this glove here. Just felt odd. I had a big glove and a little glove. Oh, here we go. Doing the same thing. There we go. That's better. Like I felt like I had two different socks on. A small and a medium. Okay, there we go. Perfect. All right, so are we ready to go, Natalie, with our developers and all that kind of stuff? Perfect. All right. Go ahead and scoot her over here. Perfect. All right, so again, my choice is Synchrolift. And we'll talk a little bit more about our lighteners in a minute, but Synchrolift is our blue powder lightener. When I do this technique, I oftentimes on longer length hair, like 2 different volumes, could be 5 and 20, could be 30 and 40, could be 20 and 5. I like 2 different volumes, a lower volume to start closer to the scalp, and then a higher volume to apply to the middle and the ends of the hair to create that dimension on that organic highlight. So maybe a non-organic highlight would be the same level from the scalp out to the ends. And believe me, that's harder to do. How many of you have done some highlights over previously colored hair? The root area comes up real light, the mids, not so much, the ends are orange. And never go to blonde, right? It's because you've lifted over previous color. So an organic highlight actually is really kind of easier because it either goes from dark, medium to light, or could go light, medium to dark. The transition of dimension is on that section that you're coloring. So it's never one color. So again, another way of thinking about organic is of natural value. Yeah? Okay. So in order to do this, we always work with our lightener, and typically it's 1 scoop to 2 ounces, right, is the measurement, but I like to go just a little creamier. This is the 30 volume, right? Yeah. So I like to put just a splash back in a little bit more. The reason for that is you're going to see with the technique that I use, you've got to be able to move the lightener over the surface of a hair in a very fluid manner. That if it's lumpy, bumpy, dry, kind of skips and jumps, then your lift is going to be that same way. So if we want a nice fluid lift, we have to have a nice creamy. So I'll add just a little bit more in right at the end, just to get that sort of cold, creamy texture. Yeah, good. I'm also going to work with a product that we call Awapui Moisture Mist, and that's going to help bring in the fade. To go from no lift on the scalp to a little lift off the scalp to a lot of lift on the ends. The Awapui is going to help the transition point between the scalp and the beginning of the highlight. When I run my brush over wet hair with Awapui Moisture Mist, it just sort of glides through and creates a beautiful transition. It also slightly slows down the energy of the lightener at contact. So even though I'm working with 5 volume, when I put the 5 volume over the hair with Awapui Moisture Mist, it's like I'm working with 2.5 volumes. Water and developer, H2O2 and H2O, combined together in equal parts, drops the volume in half. So 20 volume becomes
10.
10 volume becomes
5.
5 volume becomes
2.5.
2.5. Okay. So by using this on the hair at the time, I'm literally blending the lightener from a 2.5 to a 5 to whatever 30 gets us to. Kind of fun, right? And they're all sort of mixing together along the strand. Kind of crazy, but that's blending. So I'm working with lightener to do that. I'm going to switch this around just so that I start with the 5. Okay, is that cool? Yeah, so switch the, yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't throw me off. You got it, because I get thrown off real easy. Okay, so triangular shaped section means that I have a platform to paint here, a platform to paint here, and a platform to paint here. I will not be forcing my color brush to go on the inside of the triangle. That's why the shape of the triangle is there, to comb the hair so that no lightener gets on the inside. Only gets on the outside, all right? If I did this whole triangle, and I did the lightener from the scalp through to the ends and did the whole entire triangle, when I laid this hair down, it would be a solid blonde stripe in the back of her hair. Not that it would be a bad thing if that's what I wanted, but it wouldn't be very organic. It wouldn't feel like it's living within the hair. It would feel more like it's living on the hair. A little bit of difference, right? So now we're beginning to understand the nature of organic. That Awapui is just going right on the scalp, however much that ½ inch is, and as it drips down, that's really a good thing, because it's diffusing already as we speak. All right, so I'm going to turn her just a little bit, so I can get that right angle. Working with the 5 volume first, and by the way, I have to mark my stuff as well, because I get confused, they both look the same. So the 5 volume is the foil. Taking the brush and running it parallel with the strands of hair. Working on this platform, and then this platform, and then flipping it over and working on that platform. So this is the 5, and it's connecting with that inch of Awapui dropping down to 2.5. Okay? Once again, working off the surface, I call this guitar strings. It's really taut. It's like guitar strings. To avoid putting any lightener on the inside. Okay, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now from here, and I'm not necessarily halfway down the strand, but pretty close to it, what I'll do is refine my placement, and now I'll go to the 30 volume and work from the mid through to the ends. And as I get through to the ends, I'll take my brush and do what I call flat brush. See, at that point I was going parallel with the hair. Now as I get to the ends, flat brushing to apply more product through to the ends. So whereas up at the top, I was only on the surface, as I get to the bottom, I'm literally working the lightener through, completely through to the ends of the hair. Okay, at this point I've got 30, 5, and 2.5, and now I'm going to take my finger and gently blend the lightener onto the hair. Not through it, but just stroke it so that it has really nice saturation, even saturation. Now when I get to the ends, where I really wanted to start impacting the ends of the hair just a bit more, I will ribbon and possibly separate the hair just a little bit so that I can feel that that lightener has gone through the hair beautifully. So I've taken a lot of time on this one section, right? But I only have 4 more to go to complete the technique. So I can take a little bit of time. Good. Now since I've got super long hair, I'm probably going to have to use 2 sheets to this one strand, which isn't a challenge, all right? So we're going to drop that hair in that section, okay? And then you're going to give me 1 more. Yeah, you still got longer than these foils, right? Okay, 2. Okay. Fold. And just twist and lock in. So no foils needed here because no lightener is on that area there. It's more to the mids and the ends. Perfect. Okay.
What's the difference between twisting the foil and just folding it? Is it just personal preference?
It's just different. Gotta kind of keep your guests guessing. Okay? Now when I'm teaching this, all right, so we're on the side now. Let me just move this over here. All right? We're on the side. And I've got to be able to go from here to here. So I do want to maybe do something super wide again on here. I'm going to go just a little bit lower. This is pretty much on the surface, as you can see. There's not much, there's quite a bit of depth here, but I've only put it on the surface. This one here, I want to go just a little bit wider and maybe just a little bit deeper. So I'm going to leave out that on that side. I'm going to leave out just a little bit on the front line. And I'm going to take this in, there we go, good. Just a little bit lower than the back one. So I get just a little bit more. Let me see what I got. With these, this sort of large section concept, it's just as important to have a background as it is to have a highlight. So if I take too much, do you see the density of the sides of her hair versus the back? If I take too much of the side up, it's going to be a solid blonde on the front. It's no longer going to be an organic highlight. It's going to be lightening the front of the head. So I have to look at the amount of hair that I'm leaving as a background for the highlight. Very important. Okay, so I'm still going deep, but now I'm leaving this out. So that'll give us a nice contrast to this blonde that we're about ready to put in her hair. Okay, and then this one I'm going to take over just a little further. Why not? So shape and displacement. Now if I lay this down, you'll be able to see how much I'm actually going to be highlighting. A lot of hair in one section. Okay. And can you see my gloves through it? I want to be able to see, I know it's black. Let's put a sheet of foil behind it. There you go. Hold that right there, Natalie. Perfect. Can you see the foil through it? A little bit, right? All the way through in that whole section. I do. I want As much as I want the blonde to show, I need to see the brown underneath as well. If you can't, then you need to make the section smaller. Highlighting organically or elsewise needs just as much dark as it needs light. If not, it just ends up being solid color, right? So you need just as much contrast. All right. So there we go. And I'm going to